welcome back to my channel. I'm starting a new series. A lot of people have asked me to do some reptile care sheets and talk a little bit about the care for different reptiles. So I'm going to start with the most popularly requested one, ball pythons. This is my normal ball python, Frank. He is going to be 5 years old this year. He's about 2 feet long. He's very small. So that was the first thing I was going to talk about with ball pythons. They average 3 to 5 feet long, with males typically being smaller than females. However, there are cases where that's opposite. Frank is a male and he's very small. He's pretty much full grown. Most snakes exhibit their most rapid growth in the first 4 years of their life, so he's pretty much done. But snakes do grow their entire lives. They exhibit indefinite growth. So since ball pythons live 30 plus years, he will grow for the rest of his life. So the next thing about ball pythons is, since they're from a warmer region of the world in Africa, their ambient cage temperature needs to be between 78 to 80 degrees, which is warmer than most of our houses. And they need a hot spot or a basking spot of 88 to 96 degrees, which is certainly hotter than most of our houses. This can be achieved through multiple ways, but I think the best way is using a heating pad and then having a really closed off cage. So like if you get a screen lid cage, taping off that screen lid will trap in heat. It'll also trap in humidity, which is important because ball pythons need 50 to 60% humidity, and that's so they can shed. When a snake sheds, they should shed everything from the tip of their nose all the way to their tail, and it should come off in one full piece. If it does, that's a good sign that your heat and humidity are both correct. As far as how your enclosure should look, it's mostly up to you. I keep it really simple. I use newspaper as my substrate because I feel like it's sanitary. When they use the bathroom, I can just clear it all out. I make sure that they have a water dish with clean water. The water dish for me is big enough for all my snakes so that they can sit in their water and fully submerge themselves. And then I have a hut over the heating pad so that they can sit in the hut both to hide and to get warm, which is important for digestion. In most of my snakes' cages, that's it. Zero, who's my spinner blast ball python that I was just holding, I also give her paper towel tubes because ever since she was little, she likes to sit in them. And then I have the little pumpkin because her name is Zero, like the Nightmare Before Christmas. Alright, this is Snow. She is my female pied ball python. I believe she's about 4 years old. Next I'm going to talk about ball python handling. Ball pythons, the reason I don't recommend them as starter pets is because they're skittish, they're scared, they don't want to be handled, and a lot of time over-handling of ball pythons will cause them to stop eating, and that A, really worries the owner, and B, it can lead to eventual death. So for ball python handling, I say keep it to a minimum, at least until they've started eating regularly. So all my snakes eat on a pretty regular schedule, and if they don't eat, I know the times when they're not going to eat. Like Frank doesn't eat all winter, Snow eats every other week, Leela will eat every week, Zero never eats. So stuff like that, you get used to it and you can get into a routine of when to handle your snake. My ball pythons, I try not to handle them more than a couple times a week, just because they are reclusive by nature and a little more worried. Once they get older, it's fine, but as babies, it's really important not to overhandle the snake. Python, this is Leela. She is my 2-year-old pastel ball python. You can clearly tell she is the best eater of the bunch. She eats every week, and that's what we're going to talk about now is ball python feeding. It's best to start them on rats as soon as possible. Baby ball pythons can take rat pinkies and then go up to rat pups from there. I would not recommend using mice at all. I started all my ball pythons on mice, and sometimes it can be really difficult to move from mice to rats because of the scent. Also, I would recommend feeding frozen thawed if you can help not feeding live. All of my snakes are fed frozen thawed, so what I do is I set the rodents out in the morning, I let them thaw all day, and then once the rats are not cold to the touch anymore, I tongue feed all of my snakes in their enclosures, and I usually have a just fine time with that. General rule of thumb is that your snake should be eating something 1.5 times the size of its largest section of its body. The snake's head and mouth have nothing to do with the size that they can eat. Leela could eat medium rats. I have her on small rats though. Another thing about ball pythons eating is they'll go off feed randomly. They'll decide they're not hungry. Like I said, Zero went off feed for a year. Frank doesn't eat at all any winters. Leela so far is my only ball python that has not taken a food hiatus. So that's not really something you should be concerned with if your ball python does that. The only time you should really start to be concerned is if the ball python starts losing weight. However, if your husbandry is good, your heat, humidity is good, they're pooping, they're shedding, you shouldn't have to worry about their food intake because everything else. Thank you guys for watching this week's ball python care video. If you have any questions, just leave them down in the comment section and I'll try to answer them as quick as I can. Next week we'll probably do a boa care because those are my favorite snakes and I have a lot of them. So we'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to share my videos, like, comment, subscribe. I'm always open to new video suggestions and we'll see you next week.